Welcome back, America. It's Hugh. 2 years ago, plus, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo came to the Nixon Library to announce the end of the Nixon era in China relations. Former President Trump is talking tonight. He changed it, and now today, President Biden has finished his meetings with President Xi of China. Mr. Secretary Mike Pompeo joins me now. Good morning, Mr. Secretary. Welcome back.
Good morning, Hugh. It's great to be with you again this morning.
If I can start, I want to start with China, maybe contrary to the intuition of my audience, because the most important thing that happened the last 2 days with President Biden sitting down with President Xi. What do you think of that meeting as it's been reported out?
Well, as best I can tell, I would sense that Xi Jinping, kind of like the old Southwest Airlines line, I think he feels more free to move about the cabin because he confronted a president who was tired and confused in the sense of reversed his own Taiwan policy, although it is very difficult to know what American policy on Taiwan is today. Didn't speak about COVID and the fact that millions died as a result of what Xi Jinping did. Didn't raise fentanyl that is destroying our communities, but instead wanted to focus on climate change and things that are much less relevant to American security. It flipped what we had done in the 4 years of the Trump administration, trying to confront on every level, economic, diplomatic, here at home, inside the gates, confront the Chinese Communist Party and its threat, and instead, I think, said, boy, can't we all just get along? I don't want a Cold War. I don't want to confront them. I just want to compete. That is a mistake. Xi Jinping will sense that view as real weakness.
That is I did not talk to the former Secretary of State before he came on because I wanted to ask him that cold, because I thought that press conference where he said the policy on Taiwan has not changed is a little bit of Kennedy, Khrushchev, and Vienna in 1961, Mr. Secretary.
Good analogy. Yes, I agree.
Okay, so in terms of last Tuesday night, what happened?
Oh, goodness. Incredibly disappointing. I campaigned for so many candidates around the country, and they came out just a little bit short. Look, I think there are a couple things that happened. First, we didn't do as bad as the actual results indicate. We won on school board races down ballot that will turn out to matter a lot to the American people. It looks like, although the final tally's not in, we probably got more votes across the country in congressional races than the Democrats did. That's largely been taken for granted. But in these marginal congressional races, in our key Senate races, I think candidates failed to do the hard work they needed to do. It's not enough. You know this. You can't just come on, as much as I love you, you can't come on national news and rail against the machine. You have to actually go out and communicate the reason you are putting yourself forward to be voted on by the American people. And I think a lot of candidates just didn't do that hard retail work. And it was a time when they didn't come to trust the Republican Party to fix what everyone could see ails them.
Now, you are a veteran of the House, and you know the House as well as anybody, and this House, because you were fairly recently a member of this House, 5 years now, 6 years ago. What should the GOP House leadership expect of their members in this run-up to an election for leadership?
They should expect them to make sure that the mission set, the reason they went there, this is the thing folks lose track of when they just go on Twitter or rant. They lose track of they came for a mission. The mission that everyone talked about was stopping the Biden policies. He's made clear he's not going to stop them, right? He said, well, am I going to change? I'm not going to make any change. The mission is to stop Joe Biden's policies and to begin to lay out a forward-looking, not rearward-looking, but forward-looking vision for America. It's what the candidates who won campaigned on, and it's the task that they have in front of them. And that's going to be hard because it's going to be a very slim majority. I have seen this in Congress. When you have a slim majority, everybody thinks they're the deciding vote. They can get exactly what they want. Instead, we should rally around the traditional American Republican value set, make clear to the American people why Joe Biden has failed them, and here is our actual no BS solution to fixing those things. It's what we missed on Tuesday night.
Do you hope to see Leader McCarthy become Speaker McCarthy, and do you hope to see Leader McConnell remain Leader McConnell?
I think both of them are going to be the next leaders. I'm less worried, to be honest with you, with the palace intrigue. I am much more worried about our focus to make sure that as we move into what is now the 2024 campaign season, as we move into making this case over these next 23 months, we have to articulate why it is we can actually fix. We talked about crime. We talked about high inflation. We talked about crazy open borders, but we didn't convince enough Americans in the places that matter most. We didn't convince them that we could actually fix those problems. And for that reason, they said, well, I don't know. I think I'll vote for the incumbents, right? I think there was one statewide official between Senate races and governor races that lost as an incumbent. This was an incumbent election, and that didn't let us get where we needed in the Senate. So it's going to be whoever leads the Senate is going to be the darn minority leader.
I saw that you tweeted out, focus on Georgia yesterday. Are you going down there to campaign for Herschel?
I am. I called the day right after and said, tell me what day you want me down there. I'll get there. We have to win this seat. It matters an awful lot. I know some folks think, gosh, it doesn't matter. They're going to have control. But we know this. There's a lot of times there aren't all the senators present to vote. We also know that seat will matter 2 years from now when we're trying to stack to 51 again 2 years from now. And, when there are close votes and perhaps a Senator Sinema or a Senator Manchin is prepared to vote against President Biden, we need that vote from Georgia. So I'm going to go do everything I can to make sure that it is Senator Walker, not Senator Warnock.
Your former boss and your friend, Donald Trump, is going to make an announcement tonight. We're carrying it live on the Salem News Channel at 9 p.m. in the East, 6 in the West. Larry O'Connor hosting. What do you expect him to say? What do you think he should say?
Goodness, I think he's going to announce that he is intending to put himself forward to be President of the United States. But he'll have to make his decision and his statement, and he'll have to explain why he thinks he should be that next president. What I hope he'll talk about is things that matter to the American people, things that can work for them going forward. I served in the administration. I'm proud of the policies we laid out. We need more seriousness. We need less noise. We need steady hands. We need leaders that are looking forward, not staring in the rearview mirror, claiming victimhood.
Let me ask you, does it change your plans at all that he is declaring tonight?
Oh, goodness, no. Susan, you know Susan, my wife, a little bit. You've had a chance to meet her. We're trying to think our way through, figuring out what's next for us. We've been part of the conservative movement for 30 years. We will still be part of the conservative movement till the good Lord takes us from this planet. And our decision about whether that'll be by putting ourselves forward in an election that's ahead of us still is a decision to be made. But what happens today or tomorrow, what some other person decides, won't have any impact on that.
When will you make your decision by, Mr. Secretary?
Oh, we figure probably by the spring, Hugh, we'll have to make a decision like that. But these are deeply personal decisions, and we will sort our way through. And as soon as we have figured it out, we will let the American people know, and you'll figure it out too, because you'll see me in Manchester and Des Moines and South Carolina.
I want to ask you one more political question, then go back to China and substance, and that is whether or not you run, whoever runs. I want them on stages early and often to fix what J.D. Vance, if only to fix what J.D. Vance said yesterday, which is small dollar donations are a huge problem for the Republican. We need to amplify via discussions among would-be presidents what the messaging and the stances of the Republican Party are sooner rather than later, not talk about personal vendettas and all look backward, but to look forward. Do you agree that whoever gets in ought to get on stages early rather than late in 2023?
I hadn't heard soon-to-be Senator Vance say that. I completely agree. It's consistent with what I began with this morning. We have to make the case, and that means lots of conversations, lots of listening, and lots of communication about why it matters. So, yes, that should be early. By the way, the format, too, should be such that there are real conversations, not hand-raising and sound bites. And I think the American people will actually reward that. I think they're done with celebrity. I think they're done with noise. I think they're looking for people who can actually deliver the things that matter to them and their kids and their families.
Mr. Secretary, I want to turn to China because I went to a conference that you chaired the Nixon seminar for the Nixon Foundation. I'm grateful for that. Your co-chair, Robert O'Brien, and I did a Q&A in front of 300 people at a China conference, the Grand Strategy Conference that the Nixon Foundation put on last week. And TikTok came up because it is increasingly obvious this is a weapon of the Chinese Communist Party. Why is that not banned? I know that was on your agenda. Why is it still here?
It's unexplainable, Hugh. I get asked often. I was at Yale with a bunch of great conservative kids at Yale, was asked about this same question maybe a week ago. And I said, well, the government hasn't banned it, but you should, if you have TikTok on your phone, you should take it, walk out and throw it in the nearest pond here in New Haven. It is absolutely a weapon that the Chinese Communist Party and their intelligence service, the MSS, is using to surveil Americans. And sometimes it's Chinese Americans who have family in China. And when that's the case, they are going inside the country and talking to those folks saying, hey, we know what your sister, your cousin, your brother, your father is doing in America. We should absolutely ban it, not just TikTok, but there should be no social media nor communications assets inside of the United States Americans are subjected to that the Chinese Communist Party is in control of. It's that simple. There is no such thing as a private Chinese company. We should accept that fact, and we should deal with it accordingly.
Mr. Secretary, I told my son's fiance, and he's a lieutenant, and knows what he's doing. He's told her this too. She's got to get it off her phone because even if you don't think it's active, it's tracking you, and it's compiling data that even if they're not looking at now, they've got stored forever. Am I right to be that paranoid?
Yes, you're not paranoid. You're just reflective of the reality. Take it off your phone.
If you take it off your phone, I don't know if you know this level of technical detail, but you know people who do. If you take it off your phone, does your phone revert to norm, or do you have to get a new phone?
It's complicated, Hugh. The fewer people who download the app, the less likely it is the Chinese will surveil them.
You know what? That's clear. Let's leave it there. Let's move to the defense rebuild. Actually, let's move to the House. If Kevin McCarthy gets his way, he wants to establish the Select Committee on China. You know the House and you know China. Is that a good idea? I think it is, but if you don't, just slam it.
I think it's a great idea. I think it should be bipartisan. This matter, the challenge that's confronting us has to be bipartisan because it's going to take years and multiple administrations, multiple Congresses to confront. It should be deep. They should put smart people on. They should hire experts from around all the various spaces, space technology, espionage, counterintelligence, our economic confrontation with China, how we shape markets so that American companies can succeed at the expense of Chinese companies that are trying to steal our stuff and steal our jobs. All of those things should be on that agenda, and a House committee that looks into that, works on it, and delivers for the American people a blueprint for American success would be really important.
Last question, Mr. Secretary. Yesterday, President Biden said he doesn't want a new Cold War. I believe we are in a Cold War, and that saying that is destructive of purposeful, intentional policy. What do you think?
Yes, and most importantly is not what I think, but what Xi Jinping thinks. And when Xi Jinping hears that, he thinks this is America that is prepared to fold its tent and allow China to run rampant and free around the world. The Chinese Communist Party has been at war, at least economically, with the United States for 25 or 30 years. It has to be confronted, and a statement like that, I don't know, did you want a hot war? Right? A Cold War is a state of conflict, and I can assure you that the Chinese Communist Party, they use the word struggle. They have been in a struggle, a conflict with the West and the United States for decades, and we've just been naive or greedy or some combination thereof. It is time to confront this challenge. It will not be easy, but it is completely achievable, and America can prevail as long as we have real leaders that are prepared to acknowledge the risk and work to fix it.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, thank you as always for joining me.
Have a great day, sir.
I always do, especially when I've talked to you and Mike Pence in the morning. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. It's a great day on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.